Hi, welcome to another Sunny Side of the Street. I'm your host, Todd Gross, a clinical psychologist and director of Adams Street Associates in Newton. And our show, as you guys know, is really an attempt to try to look at the other side of human nature that doesn't often get much play in the media. The positive side, people helping each other all the time, people making a difference in people's lives, overcoming odds, inspirational stories through the years. And I guess one of the pieces of the Sunny Side of the Street is when people are facing difficult life problems, and then there are people that really come up with very creative solutions to provide really safe settings for people to work with those problems. And one of those problems is Alzheimer's. And one of the creative solutions is the title of our show, The Memory Cafe. And with us today to talk about this, we're very happy to have Beth Soltzburg. Hi, Beth.
Hi, Todd. Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you here. Beth is the program coordinator for Living with Chronic Illness. And for our viewing audience, maybe to start out, could you say a little bit about how Memory Cafes got started, a little bit about just their origin, and maybe a little bit about their goals?
I'd love to. Memory Cafes started in Europe, actually in Holland, in 1997, when a geriatrician had the idea that it would be nice for there to be a place that wasn't intimidating, that didn't have a medical feel, for people to come who were having some memory issues or cognitive challenges, and to be able to see that there is a community to support them, that life goes on, and then from there maybe to get connected with other services. So that idea appealed to people so strongly that they began to spread. And the first one in the United States was founded in Sante Fe, and they have spread across the U.S. Now there's a couple hundred of them. And last March, Jewish Family and Children's Service, where I work, started our Memory Cafe. And now there are 4 in Massachusetts, and we're hoping that that number will increase.
That's wonderful. And yours is in Waltham, as I understand.
Ours is in Waltham, yes.
To sort of fill in a little bit of detail for people so they can picture this, could you give us like a little sense of like a typical morning, when they meet a little bit, and what it would be like there if we were to attend one of those cafes, or if somebody we know wanted to come to those cafes?
Absolutely. So we are open on the first Friday of the month from 10 to noon. So we open our doors at 10, and we have turned our conference room into a cafe. We have all kinds of ways that we make it look and feel like a cafe, with music in the background and coffee and treats and flowers, the works. And so people arrive, you know, they don't have to get there at 10 on the dot. They come when they're able to. And we partner with a group of college students at Brandeis University, so they co-host with us. And I tell them to think of themselves as hosting a party. So when you arrive at the Memory Cafe, one of these wonderful students will come up to you and ask to take your coat, and just make sure you know where you can get a cup of coffee, and that everyone has somebody to talk to and feels comfortable. So people come, and we always have new faces. We also now have families that come every month, so they see each other and love to catch up. And we spend the first half hour just letting people chat and mingle.
I see.
And then we have a guest artist every month, and that person will share a little of his or her work, and it could be dancing or singing or visual art. We're having a poet coming next Friday. And then that person will lead a little bit of a group creative challenge. You know, we'll really invite people to try this out a little bit. And it's just fun. And what I find is that doing something creative together, it breaks down all those boundaries between people. We might feel a little bit silly at first, and then after 5 minutes, we're all laughing. It's
a level playing field.
It's a level playing field. So we do whatever that is for about an hour, and then we spend the last half hour just chatting and wrapping up. And people don't have to stay for the whole 2 hours, but they usually do.
Because they want to,
they
not
want
because they have to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really interesting things in what you said. I want to just get into a little bit more. One is the importance, we've done a couple shows on this, of the greeters, how people are greeted. And it sounds like you have trained the volunteers that do the greeting, the students and the people that help out, to be very welcoming, and how they respond to people when they first come in. I think that always sets a tone for how people feel about being in a space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's important that the students enjoy it just as much as the guests, and they really do. The first time, the first cafe we held, I got an email from one of the students in this group who said that it was magical. And that's the feedback I've gotten consistently. It's really special for the students to be able to spend time with people from a different generation. And a lot of them are at the point in their lives where they're thinking about many options, and they love receiving advice and just hearing the stories of those who have faced those crossroads and found out what they did and how it worked out. So that's a really nice opportunity for everybody to have that kind of exchange. And then I think, you know, for them to see that the key is just be warm and friendly. And it doesn't matter if somebody doesn't remember what they had for breakfast or other factual bits and pieces. There's plenty of ways to connect. And in fact, on each table, we have a little box called conversation starters. And sometimes one of the guests or one of the students will open one up, and it's full of index cards that have either reproductions of artwork with the question, what do you think of this? You know, we've got some Jackson Pollocks in there, which are very abstract, and you might see all different things in it. Or just questions, you know, what kind of foods feel like home to you? But these are all questions that don't require recalling information. So we kind of leapfrog past that. And people find that there are many ways to connect and really enjoy each other's company, and that's very special for the students and other volunteers as well as the guests. And maybe I should just say, when I say guests, can I add a little detail there?
Yeah, please.
So our cafe welcomes people with any stage of dementia, whether it be early stage, middle, or more advanced. As long as they can enjoy being in a group, they're absolutely welcome. And we encourage family members to come as well. And family members can even come on their own. If maybe there's someone whose parent or grandparent has dementia but lives in another state, they're welcome to come to the cafe and just be part of the atmosphere. Maybe interacting with the guest artist will give them ideas of things that they can use in their conversations with the person in their life. So it's open to all. If a person needs assistance with personal care, with using the restroom or moving around, with eating, then they need to bring someone with them.
Right. That's not the volunteers'
We're not
job.
able to do that.
Be doing that.
But as and that can be a family member, it can be a professional caregiver, whatever is the situation.
I love that, and I'm hearing from you that the real emphasis is on making it a safe space where people can connect. The emphasis is on connection, being a part of something, you know, without it depending on memory. And also, I think for our viewing audience, the thing that strikes me a lot about this too is that you're with this experience for people. I think that you're saying that you are more than your dementia. You are much more than that. You have things still to offer. You can be a part of things. You can participate. The other thing I wanted to ask you is also, what is it like for the caretakers of the people who come? Must be a benefit for them too.
Absolutely. Yeah, the Memory Cafe is very much for the care partners as well.
Yeah.
And what tends to happen when someone develops a condition that causes dementia is that they tend to become isolated, and the care partners do as well. And the Memory Cafe is also a place where the care partners can meet each other and talk and connect. One thing that's different about the Memory Cafe as compared to, say, a support group or going to a medical setting is that the volunteers and staff, we do not raise the topic of dementia unless the guests bring it up.
I see.
Because we want to give them really a respite from focusing on disease. And also we want to be a welcoming place for people who have not been diagnosed, who are having some challenges, or maybe the family member notices the challenges,
so it's not
but
threatening,
hasn't
not
been able to
oriented.
right. That said, if guests want to talk about it, that's fine.
Comes
And
from them.
very often the care partners will find each other and sit
Yeah.
together and exchange ideas and support.
I'm curious too about, from the point of view of volunteers, you mentioned one person who talked a little bit about the impact. Are there any stories that come to mind from your observation of these cafes, that sort of stick out in your mind, where you could see the effects, these positive benefits that were coming to the people, whether they be the volunteers, the caretakers, and or the people who are coming in for memory problems?
Yeah, one thing that I really loved, which I noticed, I've noticed it more and more as the months go by, because
Yeah.
we're still new. We started it last March, but I noticed it a lot at the end of our September cafe, is that as we were wrapping up and people were leaving, they were saying to each other, "See you next month." And I just love that,
That's
because
really sweet.
these are all people who met each other there, and they know for sure this is going to be a time each month that they're going to see these people who get it, who understand.
That's right, yeah.
And that's a real comfort.
And are accepting.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, it needs to be more than once a month. And there are other memory cafes popping up, and a group of us is going to meet in October and work on starting a network so that we can let people in the community know that there are cafes happening in different places on different days. So that's a direction. Yeah.
That could be very exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, amazing. Also, I'm just wondering if you could give us, I know in some of the literature that I read that you sent me that was really wonderful, you talk about some communication tips that you have for people in dealing with Alzheimer's patients. And I think if someone wants to be a volunteer here, it's important to have some of those ideas in their heads. I think if someone is watching our show and has a family member, some of these tips that you mentioned I thought were really valuable. So if you could just comment a little bit on some of them that you'd like people to hear about, it might be very practical and useful for people watching the show.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'll mention a couple of really general tips and then a really specific one. On a general level, it's really important to know that people's emotional life endures. So maybe they don't remember certain things that happened recently, and maybe they become confused about where they are, and at some point they may lose the ability to communicate verbally, but their emotional life is still there. And just like anybody else, people with Alzheimer's or dementia due to another condition like Parkinson's or a stroke or frontotemporal dementia, we all need to strive at things and feel successful. We need to feel we're making a contribution. We need to feel loved and feel safe. We need to express caring towards others. And sometimes one piece of that is more important for a certain person. Maybe somebody always was a nurturer, or they always were a high achiever. Well, those things will probably still be really important to them, and they're going to need to have an outlet for that. So I think it's really important that even if someone's words may not make sense or they may become disoriented, to know that they still feel. And you can never go wrong by being warm and smiling, and if the person's comfortable with touch, offering a hug.
Yeah.
And some of the things I'm saying maybe don't fit for somebody with very early stage dementia, who still is able to communicate quite fluently, but as time goes by, there can be more of a bridge that's needed, and it's the care partner that has to initiate that. And so if you remember that their emotional life is still just as strong, it helps you focus on that, and you can focus on the feeling behind the words. Maybe they can't explain why something's wrong, but you can see that they're agitated. So if you try to be very soothing, that may hit the button. And then another piece that I think can be very challenging, especially for family members, is that if a person reaches the stage of disease progression where they can't retain the memory of certain important family life cycle events that have
Sure.
happened, such as somebody has died, somebody has gotten married or
Right.
divorced. They may repeatedly ask for that person or expect a couple to be together who are not, something like that. And it can be
Right.
very painful for family members
Good point.
to hear that again and again, and also confusing. What do you do? And we've all been raised to tell the truth. And it's our parents who teach us that. So it can be very hard to say, well, you know, it's actually kinder to not say to mom again and again that her husband has died. But I'm here giving you permission that actually, if you respond to the emotion and kind of allow yourself to enter that person's world, to what is real for that person, that you can then respond in the way that's really going to help them feel comfortable. They aren't going to be able to learn and retain the new information. So it's better to say, you know, Dad's not here right now. Are you hungry? You want to get something, you know?
Yeah, and you take it another direction.
Or respond to the emotion. You know,
respond to the emotion,
it sounds like you're feeling like you really want to talk to Dad right now. I love talking to Dad too. You know, he's so funny. He has such a good sense of humor. I remember when.
Beautiful. Yeah. So you're staying with the emotion.
Yeah.
But you're not getting hung up on facts.
Yeah.
Being accurate or something like that.
Yeah. And I just want to say that's really hard, and that's one of the many reasons that the care partners need support. They need to have people they can talk to and really help them grieve for the old relationship.
Yes.
Because the relationship is still there, but it's changed.
That's right.
And when a person loses memories, well, the people in their life lose shared memories with them, and there's a lot of grief that goes with that.
A major loss.
Yeah. And then just one very concrete one is that this is particularly true for Alzheimer's. People's field of vision tends to become more narrow, and so they can be startled easily. So approaching somebody from the front and sitting at eye level and just slowing down, giving people more time to respond is really helpful. And I mentioned before, some of the many different conditions that can cause dementia, and they're all a little bit different. They start in different parts of the brain. You know, memory loss is very prominent with Alzheimer's, but for example, with frontotemporal dementia, what really are the first and the strongest symptoms are personality changes and loss of inhibition. So it's different with all of them. But you can't go wrong by responding to the emotion.
That's sort of a cutting across all.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
And just, you know, to speak directly to the people out there who themselves have some memory loss, cognitive changes, or maybe have received a diagnosis, I think what's so important for you folks is to know exactly what you said before, Todd, which is you matter, you have value, you have a great deal of contribution to make in the world and to each other.
Absolutely.
And I'm very happy that recently some people living with dementia have begun publishing memoirs and speaking publicly about it, because that reduces the stigma.
Good.
It's a tremendous gift to everyone when someone finds the strength to share that.
That's wonderful. In a minute, we're going to get to maybe some resources for people also where they can read about some of these developments and what people have thought about this. One thing I wanted to ask you just to comment on too, because you had mentioned to me that you have also looked at the families of people who have dementia and begun running a group. I wonder if you could say a little bit about that for people who are looking for resources too that might be dealing with this situation.
Yeah, I'd love to mention that. One evening a month, I co-lead a support and discussion group called Balancing Act, which is specifically for adults whose parent has a form of dementia.
I see.
I co-lead that with one of our care managers, and we talk about a different topic every month, but we also allow a lot of flexibility so that we can talk about whatever's going on in the participants' families at the time. And I think it's just really good for the adult children to be in a place where other people understand and they can talk about what it's like to see their parent change, to try to figure out how to problem solve, and to really grieve that former relationship. And I will mention that, you know, some people had a very good relationship with their parent all their life. Some didn't
Sure, it varies.
Some who come, just as true across the board. Some people had a very high conflict relationship, but no matter what it was, it has changed and it is changing, and it's good to have a place. And the Alzheimer's Association runs many, many caregiver groups as well throughout the greater Boston area. So I highly recommend
That's a good resource.
contacting them, and you're also welcome to contact me. My contact information will be available, I know, through your show, and I can always point you in the right direction.
Sure. We'll be showing the website and a phone number they can call if they want to
Great.
get more information from you too. One of the things you just mentioned before was about a resource about people going public and talking a little bit about what the experience is like of going through this. And I wonder, for people who also benefit from just reading about this and learning from what other people have written and said about that, are there any particular new books or things that you'd like people to know about as resources? And maybe we could just highlight a couple of those too.
Sure, that'd be great. There are so many good ones, and I
You
actually
brought some with you,
a
good,
few.
so we can take a look at the titles.
So this is actually a classic, The 36-Hour Day. So this has been around for a long time, but it's still very pertinent. It's been revised. And there are other books like this out that are very good as well, but it's just kind of a very practical manual for what care partners are confronting and some problems and issues that they need to solve. This is I'm Still Here by John Zeisel, who runs the Hearthstone Institute, and there's a group that's in the Boston area as well as other regions called I'm Still Here. You can look up imstillhere.org and find a calendar. Among other things, they coordinate museum tours specifically for individuals and family members living with dementia. This is a wonderful book because it emphasizes the positive. It emphasizes the things that people with dementia can still do and the ways they can contribute that are special. And it talks a lot about creativity. This, along the same lines, you say goodbye and we say hello. Every chapter in this book is a Beatles song, which is kind of fun.
Wow.
This is
Awesome.
Karen and Tom Brenner, and they use the Montessori principles for teaching ways of interacting with people who have dementia. It's wonderful.
Very practical, very helpful.
This one I love by Pauline Boss. She's a psychologist loving someone who has dementia. She talks a lot about the concept of ambiguous loss, which is when the person is still here physically, but the relationship has changed. And with dementia, it keeps changing because it's progressive. So even when you think you're used to one thing, it's going to change. And I just think that this is a really good resource for people who have someone important in their life who has dementia. It's very, I think you'll read it and you'll recognize feelings that you're having. And I think it's got a lot of practical tips, and it's just emotionally very helpful to look at. And then I also brought a couple of different kinds of books. Still Alice is a novel by Lisa Genova. It's gotten a lot of recognition. It's been around for a few years now, but her protagonist develops Alzheimer's, and it really brings you inside this woman's world. She's a professor, she's very intellectual, and suddenly she starts having symptoms. And I think it's a really good window into what that might feel like. And here's a very new book that talks about what it feels like. Reporter Greg O'Brien has very courageously published this memoir of his experience with early, younger onset Alzheimer's and what it's like to be experiencing changes in his own cognitive abilities. So this is just a sampling.
Great sample, and a wide variety of books covering a lot of different angles of it. One thing I would like to ask you about a little in the few minutes we have left is how about people who are watching the show and thinking, I might like to get involved with the cafes, or have interest? What would you say to a person that might be a prospective volunteer? What should, how could they decide, is this something for me or not, know?
Well, I would suggest that they get in touch with me and we can talk more about it.
Yeah.
And if it sounds like something that they want to do, then I'd say just come once, see how it feels.
See what it's like.
Yeah. We love having volunteers, and the woman who started the Memory Cafe in Sante Fe, Dr. Jutta Ludwig, I always just do a terrible job pronouncing her
in
name.
Holland, yeah.
She, I believe, is Dutch, but she lives in Santa Fe. And I spoke with her when I was figuring out how to start.
I was going to ask you how you started this. Yeah, I'm glad
I
you're
talked to a lot of people around the country who were incredibly helpful. And I love what she said. She said the best cafes are the ones where you can't tell who has the diagnosis and who doesn't. So we really strive for that atmosphere. And we strive for just creating an environment in which people can connect human to human. So if that sounds good to somebody, whether they be someone living with dementia, whether they be a family member of someone living with dementia, or whether they think they would like to volunteer, just, give me a holler or stop by one of the cafes.
And you have the support of Jewish Children and Family Services. And is that how the funding for the program goes too?
Yes, we've had some generous donors who have supported this program, and also our agency has made a commitment to it, which is wonderful. It's I just really respect the people I work with, the leadership. They're very willing to be pioneers with something new. This is a new thing. Ours was the first intergenerational cafe in the state, and just the second cafe in the state. And they were happy to run with it. And the wonderful thing about being based at Jewish Family and Children's Service is that we do have kind of circles of support around us.
Yes.
We have care managers, we have information and referral, we have a mental health program, we have a lot of support. So sometimes a family that's been coming to the cafe will contact me and we'll have a talk offline, and then I can help them connect with more support.
Very good to be connected in that way too.
Yeah.
I know this from listening to you. I can hear that this also has a big meaning to you to be doing this work.
Oh, it does. Yeah.
It's wonderful, and I guess the main thing I just would like to say is that it's very encouraging to hear that this is going on. I love the idea that you've also brought the students from Brandeis, and that sounds like a very important component too. Yes. I highly recommend this for people who are watching the show that are interested. And I also really want to thank you so much for coming with all the information and ideas. It's very, very inspiring, certainly on the sunny side of the street. Oh. So thank you, Beth, for coming, and I really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Todd.
Well, I'm very glad you were here, and I want to thank the audience also for watching, and I hope soon you'll tune in for another On the Sunny Side of the Street. We'll see you soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.